You know what I'll get on the web browser for the score is that like on the app on your phone, it lists all the players from like if you look at receiving, it'll list like who leads in yards to like the bottom for the game. But the desktop doesn't do that.
Hmm.
I don't know what I don't know if it's in a specific order on the desktop at all because
Why are
it
you looking at the
has
desktop version of the store?
because I'm on my computer. Mm, 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 mm. Mm, 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 mm. What up, YouTube?
That was a great time to walk away, but yeah, we are live on YouTube. So if you're tuning in, welcome to the Around the 412 Steelers postgame show, November 1st, 2020. The Steelers have just beat their AFC North divisional foe, the Baltimore Ravens. And what was a thriller? That first half was ugly, but the fact that they were only down 10 gave us a little bit of hope that they could come back in the second half. Just had to get something going on offense, and they managed to get enough offense to squeak out a victory tonight. The kind of similar, I would say, to the Cleveland game. There's just a little bit of distaste in my mouth because of not knowing what's going on with Cam Hayward.
Right. It didn't look at first I was like, I wonder if he's like faking an injury just to like make them like stop the clock or something like that, or like make them stop play. But then when you saw him getting up and he was really limping, you could see the mincing on his face. Like it looked like it was pretty serious. I'm hoping that it's just like banged up his knee or his leg or whatever it was. I hope it's nothing serious like it was with Devin Bush. But yeah, it's nothing good there. But I mean, it's kind of like the Cleveland game in that way. And then I would relate this game also to the game last week, just in a different fashion, where it was a tale of two halves again. Where the first half, it was like the second half, a continuation of the second half of the Tennessee game. And the second half, it looked more like the Steelers of the first half of the Tennessee game. I mean, they scored 7 points in the first half and then 21 in the second half, and they only gave up 7 in the second half. So yeah, I mean that was the difference of the game. Those halftime adjustments definitely paid off for them.
Yeah, and I think that that's an attribute to the coaching, the making the necessary adjustments at halftime to come into the second half and play the way that they did. They still Baltimore was able to run the ball. I mean, especially in the first half, but even in the second half, they were gashing up some nice runs. And I think that that's more an attribute just that they know the recipe for their success and they're not going to get away from it. And they're as good, if not better, than anybody in the NFL at doing what they do. So I attribute that a lot to the Ravens. Also, I think that Tyson Alualu, we talked about Cam Hayward leaving this game. That's another guy. I mean, once he went out, the run defense did not look the same. And credit to Bugs, who made some nice plays down the stretch and stepped up in the absence of Tyson. But I think that his value to this team was definitely magnified today when you look at the way that Baltimore was able to run the ball. But it's similar to what we said. If you make Baltimore have to throw the ball, we like our chances. And Lamar did make some plays, but, that last drive, needing to get the ball in the end zone, knowing that they can't run the ball, they got to throw it into the end zone. I liked our chances, and the Steelers come out victorious.
Yeah, and on that last play, Minka made a great play. It made my mom scream audibly because my mom, for some reason, whenever she watches sports with me, she will like be very vocal in not like her talking or yelling and anything like that. It's more of gasping and like screaming and anything like that. So she almost gave me a heart attack on that last play, more so than the play already did. But yeah, I agree with you. The loss of Alu definitely changed up the run game because he's like the anchor in the middle of that defense right now. He just clogs up the middle,
Yeah.
and they were missing that for sure. Because I mean, what was the total? They had 265 yards rushing on the Steelers, and what were the
Almost 200
Steelers?
more than what they've given up.
I was going to say the Steelers are giving up like 60 something a game. So plus, and just to compare to what the Steelers had rushing, they only had 48. So they literally had 220 yards more than we did on the ground.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna talk about some other stuff. I know that you wanna get to dinner, And also, I wasn't, hell bent on doing a show today. But once we came up with a victory against the Ravens, I was like, I mean, we have to. So I know that we kind of want to move this thing along. So I don't know how many people are to be joining us. I do have Gareth in here already, ready to join us. So let's get him in here and talk to him. He wasn't able to join us last week. Once again, we were kind of in a situation where we're trying to hurry up and wrap up the show, but he's with us this week, and let's get him in here. Gareth, what's going on?
What's up, man?
What's happening?
You got both of us this time. Last time it was just you and I.
Yeah. How's it going, guys?
Going good, man.
Doing very well.
Good.
Okay, so we were just mentioning, I mean, obviously we want to, get your takes on this weekend, also moving forward. But, we both kind of alluded to, obviously sweet victory, giving us another game advantage. And if you really want to break it down, we now have 2 games on the Ravens and also a head-to-head win against the Ravens. So it's like a 2.5 game lead, really, if you want to look at it that way. But it's bittersweet in a way because we don't know the status of Cam Hayward. Tyson Alualu also leaves this game. We're not sure what's going on with him. And even though Deontay Johnson stayed in this game and played through it, that hamstring injury, I think, impacted him throughout it. So hopefully, that's something to monitor, I guess, throughout the practice week as well. So, Gareth, how are you feeling about this win and, the things that I just touched on as well as far as the injuries?
Well, I'm still calming down a little bit at the moment. Right. We were just jumping around, obviously, with our last play where it was broken up in the end zone. So, I mean, on the basis of the final result, absolutely, it couldn't be happier. We're 7-0. On the basis and the analysis of the game, we touched on, I think it was with the Browns game when I came on last, and I said to you about how open they were letting the wide receivers of the Browns get.
Mm-hmm.
Today wasn't so much. Well, I think today showed their running game was a lot different to the Titans. I mean, we were stopping Henry. He was getting practically nowhere. But as soon as they were on the running game against us today, we just didn't have an answer for them. And then, in that fourth quarter, they were finding the wide receivers right out in the middle of the field. No one's around them. You could see how they were set up, how they were planning that Lamar was going to go. But with a quarterback like Lamar, he's gonna read that and he's gonna go a completely different route to what the defense is setting up like. On Cam, yes, he got hit. I think it was in the third quarter, and he was down up by the touchline. And obviously he got up and he played through a bit of it. But when he got hit that second time, I couldn't really see. It wasn't. The problem is, with the live game that we've got here, is it comes back and forth and goes into other games when they have a commercial break or different bits like that. So we couldn't really see the hit on Cam. But when it came back to the game, he was being helped off the field. So obviously, first impression, it didn't look good. And obviously, we hope that it's not serious and he's going to be back next week for the Cowboys game. I think with Johnson, I've just gone through Twitter now as they're all in the locker room. Juju's posted a few videos and a couple of the other players. And Johnson seemed to be jumping around with the other players in the locker rooms. So, if it is a hamstring injury, it could be just a little tweak where, a few days rest and he could be good. But I think out of all of them, I think we're more concerned with Cam because obviously, he's a big, strong guy and like Ben, it takes a lot for them type of guys to get hurt. So until we get news of what, how he is or if he's going to be out and for how long, I think every fan is going to be holding their breath at the moment.
Yeah, and you know what? You look at the schedule coming up, and you almost, no game is, a gimme, and I want to touch on that too. But you look up at their upcoming schedule here before the matchup with Baltimore again that's here, having Dallas, Cincinnati, Jacksonville. If there is a little bit of an issue there with Cam where like maybe he could go, but you don't want to push it, this is probably the time for that to happen. It's not a bye week, but it's a team on their third string quarterback that has been terrible, especially on defense. And now you expect that offense to regress now on their third string quarterback in the Dallas Cowboys. So I think that they're kind of in a get right spot right now for guys that might have these injuries and hopefully heal up for the upcoming matchup in a few weeks on Thanksgiving night with Baltimore. So that's how I would be treating these next few weeks. Again, it's not a gimme any given Sunday, they say. But yeah, so there's that. And I think that this game just shows that the Steelers, they can beat anybody. They can also lose to anybody. I mean, if they play the way that they did in the first half, there's not many teams they're going to beat. I think that, we have to give a lot of credit to Baltimore's defense there too. I think that was the first half was what a lot of people thought could potentially happen with Baltimore coming off of a bye and us just having that very physical smash mouth game with another unbeaten team at the time, the Tennessee Titans. So Baltimore looked like the more prepared team, the more well-rested team. And then halftime comes, and the second half, Mike Tomlin pushing all the right buttons at halftime, making the right adjustments. And again, there's a reason that the Steelers are 7-0, and you feel like they still haven't played their best ball game yet. They haven't put together a full 60 minutes yet, and they're undefeated.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they were saying that this is the two top defenses in the league, which is, I didn't really, obviously we don't really look at the Ravens when they're playing. Obviously we know ourselves, the Steelers are the best defense in the league. But I think, like you said, today showed that there are little cracks there that can be exploited. I mean, you have teams now, that like you said, the Cowboys, they're having a terrible run of it as it is. And I think at the beginning of the season, before a ball was kicked, the Ravens and the Cowboys were apparently our two biggest slip-ups where we were going to lose. But obviously what happened to Dak a few weeks ago is obviously taking him out, and now they're on their, like you said, their third string quarterback. But, we said the same a couple of years ago against the Broncos when they were absolutely terrible. We go up there to play, we expect to win, and then we end up losing. So I mean, yeah, if it is going to be 2 weeks out for Cam, now's the time for him to be out. But again, it's just you just look at how we played defensively, and you go back to the Titans game. The hit on Henry by Spillane. There was none of that today. There was no smash and grab. They should have known straight away. So I think it was the third quarter, right at the end of the third quarter, they were just running the ball. They were getting 10 or 15 yards of run, and there was nobody there that could get them. There was too many gaps. And I mean, when we were on that fourth quarter, when we took the ball over right at the end, now I was saying I was going back and forth, rewinding and everything, and we were 3rd and 2, and the gap for Ben to do a quarterback sneak rather than give the ball, because you knew he was coming. As soon as he handed that ball off the corner, you could see that someone was just going to run straight at him no matter what and just stop him. But Ben had a good 2-foot gap in front of him. He's got his things like that. I mean, there was a stat before the game to say that Ben is the quickest quarterback in the league to get the ball out at 2.2 seconds. Now, obviously, questions have got to be raised. Well, is that a good thing that he's getting the ball to his receivers quick to do it? Or is it a bad thing that the O-line ain't protected him enough that he got to get the ball out quick enough? I mean, he needs to be holding on that ball for at least 4 to 5 seconds to have a good scan of the field, see who's free, and then get the ball out. I mean, if he's getting the ball out that quick, for me, that's too quick to release the ball out.
Yeah, and there's going to be teams, like last week against Tennessee and Baltimore today, where if you have a guy, I mean, not everybody's built like Calais Campbell, but it's 6'8", the way that he's built. When you're getting the ball that quick, they can time it up, and you'll see them. That's why we had a couple balls batted last week. That's why he got his hands on one today. So, yeah, getting the ball to your hands quick, for the most part, is a good thing, but there are times where that's going to be taken advantage of because teams know that's going to happen. So, yeah, that's a very good point. And, again, not everybody has a Calais Campbell on their team where that's going to happen. But I think that, we have a couple questions rolling in chat right now. If you're in here, thanks for tuning in. This is not put out as a podcast, so you got to get in here for the live show. What are your thoughts about the game, and what can we improve next week going into Dallas? Again, I don't want to, just blow past the Dallas game. They still got to show up and play a football game next week. But listen, as far as this game, they say great teams win games when they're not on their best. And I mean, to beat another very good team when you're not at your best, I mean, that's just it was a statement today from the Pittsburgh Steelers that they are for real, because every single week they've had to answer these questions. Oh, they haven't beaten anybody. Now we're, Cleveland, the Cleveland game, Cleveland's supposed to be good this year. They blow them out. Well, Cleveland wasn't as good as everybody thought. Okay, whatever. Move on to the Tennessee game. They beat them. They got lucky. They gave up all those points the second half. They should have lost the game. Whatever. Move on to Baltimore. Now they come back, essentially the opposite of what we saw last week against Tennessee, where they put together a very good second half after Ben only had like 20 yards passing in the first half, and find a way to win this football game. Completely the opposite of the way that I thought they would if they were going to win this game. Like if you just tell me the way that this game's going to go, giving up 260 some rushing yards, I assume that we lose the game, because that's what you have to shut down when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens to win. So the fact that they let Baltimore, run the offense the way that Baltimore wants to be successful, and they still walk out with a W, I mean, it's a testament to this Steelers team. 2020 is a very special year for the team.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, like you said, I think today the crack showed with our defense. We've up until now, nothing's got through us. There's only been the odd special throws that have gone through us. But I mean, today it was, they were primarily on a running game. And as soon as they started the running game, the first few in the first quarter, I thought, now, they're going to stop him. They know who their primary runner is. They're just going to do what they did last week against the Titans, and just going to close up and get him. But I mean, their O-line them were just creating them gaps. There was the mistake by Dupree. His job is to just keep his eyes on the quarterback, and then he let Lamar go straight past him, and he got a first down from that as well. So I mean, there's definitely, I'm not going to say there's room for improvement, because I mean, we've played 7 games already. We haven't lost a game. I see all the people on Twitter saying, you got lucky, like you just said, but you can only beat what's in front of you. You can only grind out what's in front of you. And I mean, like as you said at the beginning, the fact that there was only a 10-point difference, that I think if it was any more, I think if it was between 15 and 20 points, if we were down by that much, I think we lost the game, because I just think that they had our number. They wouldn't have played as aggressive as they did play. They'd have shut us out a lot more. And I mean, it's a saving grace that we were only 10 points down. But I mean, you can't fault how they came out in the second half. Ben's throwing wasn't the greatest in the first half. We were going 3 and out in super quick time. They just had our number. But then something just twigged. Mike Tomlin must have just gone in there and absolutely busted their balls. And we came out second half, and everyone just seemed to wake up. Either that or the offense plane came back in from Pittsburgh, and they all got off. And I don't know what it was, but you can be critical. Of course, you can be. Everyone can be a pundit or critic when they start watching it. But I mean, to do what they've done today, now is the time, regardless of your arrival or not. You've got to look at that game, and you've got to stand up, and you've got to clap your hands and say, "Well done." Because if Baltimore had beaten us, we'd have said the same thing. The best team won. We're not going to go out and say, we would have had the Ravens come back at us then saying, we told, it would have been all that. But at least we would have said, well, you were the better team, So I think it's now, no matter who you support, whether your rivals or not your rivals, I think it's time now to stand up in front of that TV, or if you're at the game, turn to a Steeler and say, yeah, I can't fault it. I got nothing. We should have won, but we didn't. We can't say any fairer than that.
Yeah, listen, this game, regardless of who won, was not going to change my mind. Like, they are both very much contenders in the AFC. And I expect Baltimore to be in the mix right till the very end for both the division and, to win the AFC outright. I still think they're a very good team. I think when they play to essentially, like, if they play this exact game against any other team, they win this game. And that's why I think it's so important and special that Pittsburgh was able to walk out of here with a W. You talked about what changed in the second half. Well, offensively, I can tell you, for one, they want more up tempo, which is absolutely what they need to do. Don't let Baltimore substitute in and out. Don't let them get a break. And that's when Ben operates at his best. this no huddle going up tempo. That is what changed, at least definitely in the third quarter, for this offense. And, it worked, and they need to do it more often. I mean, it's clear as day to fans like us. I'm not sure how, the coaching staff could look at it any differently if we can see it clear as day. So that absolutely. And then I want to touch on some things, which might surprise you or may not. We'll see. So obviously I've been big on looking at like snap counts when they come out on Tuesday. So without looking at those, just looking at the box score, there was only one carry for a running back that wasn't James Conner. It was a McFarland 1-yard run. So Benny Snell, no carries. Jalen Samuels, no carries. However, Jalen Samuels was targeted in the passing game a couple times. I don't know why. James Washington held without a catch. I'm not even sure how many snaps he played after playing a season low last week. I didn't see him on the field very much. And Deontay Johnson, just 1 catch for 6 yards, targeted just 3 times.
Wow.
So, I mean, if I'm looking at the box score, 47 rushing yards for James Conner. Ben, just 182 passing yards. However, I mean, the second half, you have 160. That's pretty good. Had he done that both halves, we talked about a 300-plus yard passing game. So the second half was very good. But overall, if you just look at that number, you look at James Conner averaging 3.1 yards per carry for a total of 47 yards. The leading receiver, Juju, was 7 for 67. All of that coming in the second half. I mean, this game just does not look like a game, if you're looking at the box score, that the Steelers won. But they somehow pull out a W, and you take them how you can get them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, from them stats alone, it seemed like that they all got a lot more, and it seemed like Claypool got a lot more as well. But
Chase Claypool was the most targeted guy. He had 9 targets.
Yeah. But yeah, I think again it was Tony Romo said, I think it was around the second quarter that Juju wasn't targeted once. But I'll say it like I said last time I was on. He's not. A lot of people again are saying, oh, if you don't target him, he's going to want to go elsewhere. He's going to start, being like Brown, and But you see again the videos he puts on Twitter, and the guy just wants the team to win, and that's all it is about it. So, he needs to be targeted more because he's the most experienced. He's the most experienced wide receiver, and there is things that he can do. But again, you've got to look then at how he's being covered, because he's, there's a lot of double coverage on him. So when you do that, you've got the likes of Claypool and Washington and get him free. That's why, Claypool's had as many touchdowns as he's had. Because
you absolutely do not want to force the ball to him. No. I think that, you mentioned as far as like the Brown thing, and Tyler and I have actually talked a lot about this. Like, there's literally no parallels there other than the fact that they both have personalities, but they're not the same type of personality. But I think too is he's really starting to embrace this role as the gritty guy, the yards after the catch. He'll churn out the tough yards, and he's a chain mover. Third down, that's who you're looking for. So I think that he's just really stepping in and embracing the role that he has in the Steelers offense. He doesn't need to pop off every week, but he's going to be Mr. Reliable in the middle of the field on those third downs to move the chains.
Is it fair to say that he kind of is reminding me of Hines Ward?
Hey, listen, I brought up too, Mike Tomlin was on Bryant McFadden's podcast, and they were asking, obviously most recently Chase Claypool, but like, how do you guys just keep churning out wide receivers like this? Hines Ward, Mike Tomlin said, is like the baseline for their wide receiver evaluation. So like the first things first, like they got to love football. If they happen to play wide receiver, great. But the first part of it is they got to love the game of football and be willing to do anything and everything. And they knew that Chase Claypool was going to be the perfect Pittsburgh Steeler when they talked to Notre Dame's head coach, Brian Kelly. And he said that he couldn't talk him out of playing special teams, even when he became the start receiver. So, yeah, I think similar mold, Juju, a guy that loves to block, is very good at it. Just physically a mismatch when they line him up in the slot, because, these linebackers, he's faster than a linebacker, and he's more physical than these smaller guys that try to put on him in the slot. So he's a mismatch, and very similar, I think, to Hines Ward in that aspect. The willingness to block and be a team first guy.
Yeah. I mean, you got to look at I can't remember. I think it was in the third or the fourth quarter where Ben threw the ball and he was literally a yard away from from getting the first down, and all he did was turn and burn on his heels just to push back. And I think he had 2 players on him at one point. And as you know, the good thing with Juju is, like you said, not only is he fast, is he physical, he knows where he is on the field. He knows where the chains are. So as soon as he got over that line, he was down on the floor clutching that ball because he knew where he knew he'd got the first down. So I mean, when your game is that all round, I mean, you can't not really speak highly about him. You know, like you said, he's one of the, you know, he's very quick for, you know, he's quite tall but very quick. But like you said, he's very, very physical. But I think what impresses a lot of people more is his knowledge of the game, his knowledge not just of the playbook, but of his presence on the field, where he is, where the chains are. I mean, you know, if you do a slow-mo, I bet every time he catches the ball and he's going up against someone, he's doing a quick glance across to the sideline to see where the chains are. And as soon, he doesn't even need to look again because he'll know as soon as he's over it, he's down and he's, like I said, he's clutching that ball.
Yeah, well, was it against? I think it was in the Houston game this year. He stopped, like, the guy made contact with him like 2-3 yards short of the sticks, and he somehow keeps his balance and just goes backwards while holding the ball like this.
Yeah,
He gets the first down. I mean, the awareness sideline to sideline where the sticks are, it's off the charts. I think that's probably an underrated part of his game, to be honest with you. I think everybody just looks at him. Like I mentioned, I think that like the physicality is probably like the thing that jumps off the page to you is like his number one trait. But he's just, he's so nuanced in his IQ of the game. So, but real quick, I know that we have Kai waiting. Gareth, like, what are you looking forward to next week against Dallas? Again, you know, I don't think that any game is a gimme game. So, what does this team need to do next week to walk out 8-0?
I think they mainly need to go back to the last few weeks of their tape, and like I said, like I've touched on before, they need to make sure that they've got pure man-to-man coverage. They need to stop letting wide receivers get so open in the backfield because, you know, that's costing us too many yards when, you know, they throw into their wide receivers. I also think the defense definitely needs a little bit of a reset next week. I just think, you know, today was not their best day, but we played absolutely phenomenal to stop them when we did stop them. But I just think, you know, you always look back at previous games and you see how they played, and you always got to compare it. Because when the cracks start to show, you know, we knew we weren't going to be perfect every single week, but we knew we can do enough to win it, even if we didn't play great. But I just think the defense need a little reset. They just need to look back. They need to, like I said, man-to-man coverage needs, you know, if you're given a specific job, you stay at your specific job. You know, you can't, you know, defense wins you games, but, you know, there's always got to be that 1 week where you go back to the drawing board and you say, right, this is how we're going to go. We're going to go back to basics and we're going to get it. We're just going to go back to the smash mouth because there wasn't a lot of the smash mouth today. I mean, the offense definitely didn't show up first half. So I think, again, they need a little reset as well. But obviously, I hope Cam's all right. If he does need a little break, like you said, I think next week's going to be the one to do it. But yeah, I just think more of the, you know, we can't ask for any more about what they're doing. You know, our bye was very, very early, so, you know, the guys are going to start getting tired and everything. But we don't, unfortunately, with the injuries that we've had and the injuries that we had, obviously for this game as well. You know, Mike Hilton being out, Ulysses being out as well. The depth of the squad reduces dramatically. So I really hope that they're back next week. I hope Cam is all right. You know, I think, like you said, next week is going to be his time to sit out if needed. But I just say more of the same and more of how we played the last 6-7 weeks.
Who's Gareth giving a game ball to for this game against the Ravens?
A game ball.
Who's your player of the game?
My player of the game, I'll give it to him just because, you know, he played some smash mouth ball again, but Spillane.
Hey, pick 6 too. I mean, that's I think he had 11 total tackles in the game to lead the team as well.
I mean, for the guy to come in as he has, you know, he's coming as a reserve for Bush. you can't. He's done. I think he's exceeded expectations for how he was going to play. A lot of people thought that he wouldn't do as well, but I mean, he's taken his opportunity with both hands, and he's saying to Mike Tomlin, "I don't think you need to. I am here. Play me more."
Yeah, and he was asked to do a little bit more in coverage today as well with the injury to Ulysses Gilbert as well. We did see Marcus Allen come in some sub packages and stuff like that, his first snaps on defense. But yeah, I think that Robert Spillane has definitely put his stamp on that starting position. But now you have to just question, do they still make a move for somebody depth-wise, depending on how severe this injury is to UG3? Because then if you talk about Marcus Allen being the guy right behind Spillane, okay, well now you're taking away a key special teams guy potentially from that spot should he have to step in, and also you're taking another hit to the depth. So, but yeah, I like that pick as far as the game ball. I would be torn between him, Budge, just because of the situation he had to step into, and down the stretch played really well. That key fourth down stop, if he doesn't make contact with Lamar right away, he's the first one to make contact with him. He might pick that up. And then, our boy Alex Highsmith with a pick as well, his first career takeaway in the NFL. So, yeah, I'd be torn between those three guys. I can't, again, Ben, pretty solid in the second half. I'd have a hard time giving it to anybody on offense, though.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just think, we could always give it to TJ Watt or the guys like that. But like you said, Spillane's taken his opportunity like any guy coming in at the last minute should, because, the thing is when you're on the sidelines and you're sort of the second or third call, when you get that call, it's either going to go two ways. You're either the moment's going to get you too much and you're just going to make too many mistakes, or you're just going to grab it as hard as you can. You're not going to let go, and you're going to make it your position, and you're going to do whatever you can to hold on to it. Like I said, when Bush is back to 100%, we all know he's coming back straight into it. But at the same time, I'm happy we've got Spillane producing what he's producing at the minute.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Well, like I said, we definitely want to get Kai in here. Gareth, do you have anything to leave us with?
No. I just glad to get on here again, see you guys, and have a nice chin wag. But no, I'm very happy. I'm probably gonna go and find a defibrillator now just to give myself another shock so I can calm down a little bit. But if I got one wish, that we're 53 up by the fourth quarter next week, so I can actually enjoy the game and just sit down and stay off my feet.
Yeah, that'd be nice. You about to say something?
Yeah, so this is totally unrelated to the Steelers postgame show. I just wanted to ask Gareth before you got off. Are you a Premier League fan?
I'm not a Premier League fan, no. My team was in it a couple of years ago, but my football team over here is a team called Cardiff City, which is my local team.
Oh, okay.
So we were in the Premiership last year. 2 years ago, we got relegated. But that's the only team I support is my local team.
Okay. Well, I've always been into soccer, or football, I guess I should say to you. But I wanted to get more into Premier League this year, and so I took 3 personality tests to tell me which team I should be a fan of. And 2 out of the 3 said I should be a Chelsea fan. So I recently started following Chelsea earlier this year.
But he's also a Steelers fan.
But I am a Steelers fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the two said Chelsea and the one said Everton. So I was like,
I'd probably out of the both of them, I've never really been a fan of Chelsea, but Everton are doing pretty well at the moment, so it wouldn't have been so bad if you'd gone for them. But it's like our Cardiff City's rivals, like this, like big rivals like Steelers, Ravens. Ours is Swansea City, which they're about 20-30 miles from where we are. But I mean, there's a couple of guys on Twitter who follow me who are actually Steelers fans, of course, but they're also Swansea City fans. So it's kind of like a little bit when we're playing in the football and it's sort of back to back. But then when the Steelers are playing, it's kind of like you're all right for now for the next 60 minutes. But
Right.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, Gareth, we appreciate you joining us this week. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. So all the way from South Wales, take care.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers.
All right, let's get Kai in here.
I love British people. Or he's not British. He's Welsh.
He called us lads. You gotta love that.
Yeah, I know.
Kai, what's going on?
What's happening? First and foremost, I just got to get this off my chest. The deal I want, in the words of LeBron James, we want our damn respect. 7-0, we beat the Titans, we beat the Ravens. What else do they want from us? To beat
Do you
the
think it
Chiefs,
happens?
We'll see them in the playoffs. But as for now, I want my damn respect.
Do you think that respect comes tomorrow morning?
Probably not, honestly. Probably
What do you
not.
think?
They'll blame it on the refs. They'll say that, the defense played sloppy, which we did, granted. But, I mean, we're 7-0. A win's a win. We beat two big teams back to back.
Yeah, and like I said, the saying is great teams win on their worst day. And we haven't seen the Steelers' best day yet, in my opinion, on either side of the ball for at least a full 60 minutes. And yet they're still undefeated. And there's been some good teams sprinkled in with those wins, however you want to put it. And I think, like I said as well a little bit earlier, the most impressive thing to me is Baltimore did what they wanted to do. They ran the ball very well in this game.
Very well. Absolutely.
And if you look at the box score, it doesn't look like there's any way that the Steelers come out of this game with a victory. But they did it. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So again, I don't think we've seen the best 60 minutes of football from the Steelers yet. They're the only undefeated team in football.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a solid, I'd say 30 the first half versus the Titans, but that's it. That's close. But I mean, we're still 7-0. You know what I'm saying? And that's all that matters. That's all that matters. You're getting the win. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are probably going to try to make that Titans game not as good as anymore since they lost to the Bengals today. They're going to say, well, how good are the Titans really?
That's true.
It's like, what do you want from us?
That's exactly why I was just saying, even come tomorrow morning, I'll watch ESPN and it's still going to be, all the Chiefs are number one, some other random team, Seahawks number 2, and the Steelers will probably be at that 4 or 5 spot again, and it's okay. I like being the underdog. We were the underdog 2 weeks in a row, and look what happened. That's the result you're going to get.
So, Kai, I noticed when I looked at your profile, you're in Hawaii, huh?
I am.
So, yeah, I didn't know that before. And then, I'm looking, and I don't know if it's just me or if it actually is, but what time is it there?
It's 12. It's noon. It's 12:13.
Which island are you on?
I'm sorry? Oh, I'm on Oahu.
Oh, okay. Awesome. I've been there once.
So
Yeah.
I got to ask, this necessarily isn't related to the Steelers game. I feel like we're kind of just doing an interview at this point, but
Okay.
How did you become a Steelers fan?
That's actually funny. I wanted to talk about this too, especially this game. God, thank you so much for asking. Oh, now I'm hyped. So, fun fact: I was born and raised in Baltimore. I lived in Baltimore for 23 years. 23 years, yeah. I just turned 26, so 23 years. Joined the military. Obviously, that's why I'm here in Hawaii now. That's how I got here. How I became a Steelers fan, I started watching football 2003, and there was a guy named Troy Polamalu. He had crazy hair. I had crazy hair. I was like, I like that guy. Started watching the Steelers, started watching him, and I was like, this is my team, man. I got hated for it a lot because, you're in Baltimore and you're a Steelers fan, the number one rival, but, I mean, it is what it is.
Troy brought in a lot of fans, in our age group because we're 25. So our age group, if it's somebody that isn't directly in the Pittsburgh area, but they're a Steeler fan, it seems like Troy Polamalu is the reason that they're a Steelers fan.
Yeah. Well, I'm one of them. So
what branch of the military?
Marine Corps.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for your service, first and foremost.
No problem.
But with this game, I want to ask you the same question that I asked Gareth as well. If you were giving away a game ball to somebody, who are you giving the game ball to?
Hey, man, I'm trying to make it a thing. Spilly, dog. Spillane, man. That dude, he's a baller. And I just want to shout out to all the people who are like, the Steelers need to sign somebody. They need to trade for somebody. A lot of big names will come up. Avery Williamson from the Jets or whatever. I said, no, Steelers know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They always, next man up mentality. And this is 2 weeks in a row. He's had big plays, controversial plays that he's made on this defense. He stopped Henry at the goal line last week, and he had that beautiful pick six, third play of the game today. So,
Yeah, I think that this is Spillane's job. Absolutely, is the middle linebacker, and then you fill in whether it be UG3 if he's able to come back again. Not sure how severe that back injury is, or if it's Marcus Allen filling in on these sub packages or whatever it might be. But I think that it takes away the need to make like a bigger move for a middle linebacker. I still think that they might at some point need to address the depth of it, especially if UG3 is going to miss time. But I
I
think that
agree.
Robert Spillane has definitely put a stamp on this being his job.
Absolutely. And I agree. Like, I really don't want to see them trade away, our valuable draft picks for, a backup linebacker. But if they want to get somebody from the street just to fill a depth void, special teams, whatever, that's fine. But
Yeah,
this
I
is
know
definitely
who Darren Lee, who was a former high draft pick, he's actually chilling on somebody's practice squad right now. So they could sign him tomorrow for nothing. And obviously he hasn't had a great NFL career. There's a reason on a practice squad, but the traits I still feel like are kind of there. If you're looking
yeah.
for a guy that could potentially go sideline to sideline and give you a little bit in coverage.
I remember watching him in Ohio State, and he was like a poor man's Ryan Shazier. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so like somebody like that for depth. But yeah, I think that he has eliminated the need for them to trade a valuable asset to get an Avery Williamson. That was really the only name that I was considering, just because it's a pending free agent. So obviously, there's not like the huge cap hit. In the return, the Jets are looking to get just a day 3 pick for anything, essentially.
For a guy they're going to
So,
lose anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. But like people were throwing out, Deion Jones, Eric Kendricks, and I'm like, those aren't happening.
That's
Like
ridiculous.
you're going to give up way too valuable of an asset. Plus, you can't take that cap hit back anyway. They can't fit those guys under the cap without losing something else. And with the contracts we know the Steelers have coming up, a ton of guys need paid here in the next couple of years. It was never going to happen.
It's
So,
ridiculous.
Avery
Absolutely.
Williamson was a realistic possibility. But if he comes here now, I mean, Robert Spillane is going to be the early down guy. Maybe Avery Williamson is just kind of like that third down role, but I don't see it happening.
Absolutely not. And I'm glad you mentioned those guys like Deion Jones. Yes, he's on a 2-5, 2-6 Falcons team right now. But I mean, come on, that's the number 1 draft pick. That's the heart of the Falcons defense. Not like there's much to it, but ain't no way. And then what happens when you got to pay him and you got Bush comes back next year? What are you going to do with all these guys? That's ridiculous.
There's a comment in the YouTube chat that you might find interesting. Kai is lying. His mom was a Steelers fan. I raised him right.
Yeah, that's why I got my mom on this. I got my mom to watch the show and everything or whatever.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, she's been
Appreciate
in there
that.
probably. My sister's probably in there too.
She might be. But yeah, so looking ahead to next week, as we talked about, kind of like the obviously anytime you beat the Ravens, we're feeling good about it and everything like that. But there's a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth just because you don't know what's going on with Cam Hayward, Tyson Alualu, which was, a big reason I think that Baltimore was able to run the ball so successfully. Now, those guys, I don't think that they're obviously necessary going forward. But you look at the stretch of games coming up against Dallas, Cincinnati. I do have a ton of respect, actually, for what Cincinnati especially did today. But they've been playing teams hard all year. I mean, they're undefeated pretty much against the spread. So, and then Jacksonville, if there were a time where obviously already having used our bye week, you want to take some time to heal up the guys that are injured right now, this is probably the stretch of games to do it. So, looking ahead to this Dallas game next week, what are you looking for? And, how imperative do you think guys like Cam Hayward and Tyson Alualu would be for a win just, during these stretch of games?
Well, it's definitely imperative. I actually wrote down some notes too. I know you're a what's it called, a snap count guy. I don't know if you saw, but I was watching. I did not see Cam Sutton out there like I thought I was, especially with Mike Hill being out.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good point. I typically I do look for it, like during, like the eye test stuff, but Tuesday is a good day to go back because Pro Football Reference will put up the snap counts game by game, but they don't do it till Tuesday of each week, unfortunately. Yeah. So, I mean, but you're right. I was kind of interested to see because I figured, Cam Sutton would have pretty similar to a role as he did last week, and at least based off what you're saying. And you're right. I didn't really see him. Maybe guys just weren't Lamar wasn't throwing his direction. I didn't see him around the ball at all. But between him, a guy like Justin Lane, who I did see a little bit, he was actually right there with Minka on that last play of the game. And then Marcus Allen, who we saw in some sub packages. I was really curious as to how those guys would be deployed in this game. But yeah, I'm interested to go back on Tuesday and see snap counts, but that's interesting. I didn't see Cam Sutton a whole lot in this game.
Yeah, I was wondering where because I know Mike Hilton, he was up and down all week. So as soon as they're like, he's out, I was like, all right, cool, we have Sutton. Now, last week he showed he was an adequate tackler, just like Mike Hilton was. But I believe Cam's a little bit better in coverage. I didn't see him that much. I guess they were just planning against that run, which, you talked about it earlier. The box score didn't show. But
yeah, I mean, with how I don't know, I'm going to have to go back and watch tape to see what the Steelers are doing defensively. It didn't, like, most of their passing plays, there wasn't like a guy right near the receiver anyway. They're playing so off of these guys and letting them catch the ball, testing Lamar's arm to see how accurate he was. That, they weren't, it didn't seem like they were throwing it. He didn't throw into tight coverage very often at all. So, yeah, I'm not even sure, because I could say the same thing about like Steven Nelson. He wasn't really like noticeable. Joe Hayden almost had the pick. That was really the only time that like I noticed him in coverage.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Obviously it was a lot of zone because I didn't see much man at all. Yeah,
but anyways, looking forward to next week. I looked at the schedule. I'm not really sleeping on any of these teams. Everybody talks about the Cowboys. I anticipate Andy Dalton being back for the next game. And a game definitely I'm looking forward to is the Bengals, because after what they did to the Titans today, like I was saying earlier, I penciled that game in as an early win. I was like, man, write that one off. But now I'm like, I don't know.
Joe Burrow's a real deal.
Yeah, he's coming out. So.
Yeah, he has some weapons there. Think about it. They won this game against Tennessee without Joe Mixon. And Giovanni Bernard's no slouch. He's been in the league for a long time. He's a veteran back. But, like,
absolutely.
You look at, what he's done with T. Higgins. That seems to be like a guy that he really likes throwing the ball to. Tyler Boyd is very good there. And, AJ Green's probably like their third or fourth option at this point because Auden Tate has started to come out too. So, they have a ton of weapons there. I think the biggest question is just their offensive line. Because their defense is probably, outplaying expectations as well. So, yeah, I think if Cincinnati improves that offensive line, they're to be a real player in the AFC North, but that's going to take some time. That's not, a quick fix. Also, what teams are you have siblings? You said you have a sister. What teams are they fans of?
Oh, she's a Steelers fan all the way.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. So, reverting back to that. So, my sister, she's a Steelers fan. So, we text and FaceTime all the time during the games. Obviously, I have two other brothers. They're big Ravens fans. So
gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense.
Before I got on the show, I was going back and forth at them, and all they did was the excuses with the refs and the injuries and this and that. And I'm just like, hey, I say this all the time. The refs didn't make Lamar Jackson fumble 2 times. He didn't throw those 2 interceptions. That wasn't the refs. That was Lamar Jackson. So
yeah, if we lose a game like that, like where we wouldn't be given the benefit of the doubt like that. Like if we complain, people just tell us to shut up. So I'm not hearing it.
Absolutely. Like I said, when I first got on, I want my damn respect. And it's as simple as that, 7-0. I will never apologize for being 7-0.
Okay. Biggest takeaway, both positively and negatively from this game.
Negatively, I'll off the jump, that run defense was suspect. But I'm also going to say I was a bit surprised when they started making a comeback and Lamar Jackson made a lot of big throws downfield. These guys were wide open. It was near the end of the game. I think Snead had one, and Duvernay, the rookie, he had one. And that really shocked me, that how wide open they were. Let me think. On offense, something positive. Second half, Ben, he was on fire.
Up tempo.
Yeah.
Don't go huddle.
He's got to keep doing that. This whole huddle, this whole, little, I don't even know. I was watching the game. I think it was first quarter. It was 3rd and 10. We ran a draw to James Conner. I was like, that's not going to do it. That is not it. We're going to lose the game with that. But second half, he was like, man, it's my show. I'm running the show. And he sure did. And threw 2 touchdown passes. James Conner rushed for another one. We were in business.
Do you think any differently about either one of these teams after this game today?
I do, honestly. I'm going to say this, and it's bold. I think Lamar Jackson is not as good as a lot of people want him to be. Yes, he had a great year last year, but I don't think, he's as good as the league and all the teams are making him out to be. He's not a Patrick Mahomes. Also, and I'm going to say this, negatively about the Steelers, and it hurts, but I think our defense can be really suspect at times. And it does worry me if we play a team like the Chiefs, where Patrick Mahomes, you have Mecole Hardman and a Tyreek Hill, competent receivers who have that speed and somebody who can make those throws. That does worry me a bit.
Yeah, we've seen it from both sides of the ball from the Steelers so far this year in multiple games. When they're on, they can be the best in the league. When they're off, they're terrible.
It's terrible. Yeah. I mean, he went 4 for 12 and had 24 yards in the first quarter. I was like, this is not going to do it,
Yeah. I think for me, it's still Lamar hasn't answered the questions about can he win games with his arm. We know what he can do when they're playing with the lead and they're running the ball the way that they are. And again, they did that well today. You would think that they won this game the way that they ran the ball. Absolutely. But it comes down to him having to win a game with his arm, and he doesn't get it done. And that's why I said, going back to that Monday Night Football game against the Chiefs, which was the only Ravens loss before this week, the Chiefs kind of laid out the blueprint for how to beat the Ravens. You get up and put them in a situation where Lamar has to be a pocket passer. And the only thing is, again, the Chiefs gave the teams the blueprint. The problem is not everybody has the offense the Chiefs do, but that's the blueprint to beating them. And again, that's what makes the Ravens so good, is that it's hard to do. And even when they play from behind a little bit, they still run the ball. We saw what they needed a touchdown to take the lead, and they're still running option plays.
10 rushes and no passes. Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way that their offense is, and that's just a testament to how good they are at what they do. But again, when you get into these games like against the Steelers, against the Chiefs, right, can Lamar win a game with his arm? And the answer to that question for another week at least is still no.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. If you see when he's as soon as he gets the ball and it's a passing play, he's got in his mind, I think, 2 seconds. And I'm reading him the whole way. He doesn't really read the field. And I think that's one of his biggest problems. And I mean, that's not a knock on him. He's still a young guy. He's still a phenomenal quarterback. But I feel like he's got one target he looks at. And if it's not there, he immediately starts to run. That's why we sacked him 4 times today, because he looks, and as soon as he's like, I don't like it, he starts dancing in the pocket. He starts doing that little dance, and that's how he gets sacked. And I don't think that's going to win ball games. He got really risky today too. Like when he was on his back and throwing a lot of wild balls, and I don't know.
See, I think that's going to be what we're talking about, is going to be a big headline tomorrow, is about, Lamar being able to win games with his arm. I expect that to be talked about quite a bit over the next week. But yeah, what was I going to say too? Dang it. Oh, the best thing about Lamar, why he's so great, is because of his rushing ability too. You never know what he's going to do. He keeps you off balance. And that's why if you put him in a situation where he has to throw the ball, like we knew was coming on the last drive, the chance of success for him goes down dramatically, because to this point, to what you just said, he's shown to be a one-read quarterback. He doesn't go through progressions very well. And that will come with time. I mean, Patrick Mahomes literally just said at one point last year, he started figuring out how to read defenses. So I think that Lamar will definitely improve in that area. But at least to this point, I'll say it again, I've said it 10 times so far, he hasn't shown that he can win football games strictly with his arm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think his best game was last year against the Dolphins, where he threw a couple touchdown passes to Hollywood Brown, the rookie. But other than that, I mean, and I'll say this too, Lamar Jackson is not a quarterback that can run. I believe he's still a running back who can throw. So.
You're going to really piss off our friend Richie.
I'm sorry. Hey, I'm going to piss off my own brother. I mean, he's a bodybuilder too. He's a lot bigger than me. And, it's like Ravens and Steelers come on and, the Ravens lose, I'm in trouble. So.
Right. Okay. Got anything else, Tyler? I'm kind of blanking on what else.
No, I mean, I was just thinking that I think it was either Gareth said it or you said it, that the Steelers have played the Ravens the best, like the past couple of years. And I think just looking at Lamar Jackson's stats in the 2 games that he's played, the
he's
the
a turnover
Steelers
machine against us.
He is 57.1% completion, 369 yards in both games, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 4 fumbles, 9 sacks.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. I was worried too. I thought today was the greatest threat to the Steelers' sack streak ending, but hey, they got him 4 times.
We did. There's also there's another stat. So there's 2 stats I want to bring up because I'm also a stat guy. The one stat was Lamar Jackson was 22 before this game. He was 22-0 when his team led at halftime. So that streak ended today. Another stat. Oh, what is it? I can't remember. That was the big one that I was like, okay, we're good. I gotta go back and look at my tweets, but there's another. That was the biggest one. When the Ravens led at halftime, the Ravens were 22-0 under Lamar Jackson.
Well, there you go. I think once again a testament to how special this 2020 Steelers team is. They haven't looked like a complete football team, and yet they're the only undefeated team in the NFL. Like whenever they put a full 60 minutes together, as the season goes on, you just expect that they haven't played their best football game yet. Like when that happens, it's going to be scary for the rest of the league.
Really scary. Absolutely.
I just want to bring up that a month ago, I said that the Steelers were going to sweep the Ravens. We're halfway there.
We're halfway to it, and they got the toughest one out of the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Home, the field conditions terrible. So, yeah. And I mean, next time we play them, Thanksgiving
night. We're probably going to be wearing our color rushes. There's going to be fans in the stands. We are not losing that game.
I think I'm curious to see. I know that like tickets have already been put out for that game and everything like that, but it wouldn't surprise me if there were a higher number of people permitted.
Fans, yeah, I agree. Shoot,
because I mean they haven't opened up the top yet for any games, so
it makes no sense to me. By the way. But
I think it's just like a staff thing. Like they don't want to staff more people to be up there. I don't know.
That's true.
Like just keep everybody in the lower bowl, nobody up high. I don't know.
So.
People are paying ridiculous amounts of money for those tickets, by the way.
I bet. Yeah, supply and demand. A lot of people want to see football, but there's not a lot of tickets. So yeah.
See, I get the supply and demand thing too, but the problem that I have with it is people are just like ridiculously price gouging these people that want to go to the game, and you're keeping Steelers fans out because you're selling tickets on the resale market to other other team to buy them.
Yeah.
Like so far the Philly game and the Cleveland game were the only two games that we've had fans at so far. Neither one had the 5,500 capacity that we could have. It was 4,700 and then it was 5,100. And also from what I heard, there was a good bit of Philly fans and a good bit of Cleveland fans at both those games. So all you're doing is taking Steeler fans out of that stadium by buying more tickets than you need and listing them for 3 times the price on StubHub.
I mean, if you got the money and you just, I don't know.
I don't see that happening on Thanksgiving. No, I think Thanksgiving is the Ravens. Like people will pay anything, and you'll see pretty much all color rush in that stadium.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Because I mean, it's not that bad. I think it's like 4-hour drive. It's not that bad. So, sheesh.
Yeah.
Are we gonna wear our throwbacks next week against the Cowboys?
I don't think they're wearing them this year.
Really?
So Brian Keller, who Tyler, yeah, he was saying something about them potentially not wearing them this year. Like it was really a thing for to celebrate the 70s team when they did that. That's why they originally brought them back. And as far as he knows, they don't have plans to wear them for any game.
We're talking about
the block
numbers.
Yeah.
No, we gotta wear those.
I know. I thought it would have been for the Cleveland game when Cleveland was here. Because I'm trying to think, like, what other home game? I thought it would be Philly or Cleveland. And now you look at it, okay, like we got Cincy coming here. We got Washington coming here, and we got Indy coming here. Other than, the Ravens, we know they're going to wear color rush. So one of those 3 games, they would wear a block number if they were going to.
Right.
I don't know if any of them make sense. That Colts game at the end of the year, their last home game, could be big. We'll see where the Colts are in the standings.
Oh, for sure. Because, I mean, they're same thing. They're an up and down team. I think whoever they played today, I think they smashed them.
They beat up on Detroit. Yeah. I mean, Darius Leonard, I feel like, I mean, we know he's one of the best defensive players in football, but it's crazy, like literally how important he was to that defense because they were the number 1 defense in the NFL. And then he's out for the Cleveland game and they give up 40.
Yeah.
He's out again the following week and they give up 35.
Leonard, man. Who knew?
It's insane. But yeah. All right. I don't think Kai, unless you have anything else.
I mean, no, I've got everything I needed out. I want my respect. And, hey, I mean, to the Ravens fans who are watching this or who will watch this, we'll see you guys next week. That's it.
Yeah, we got a buddy, Charles, who's a Ravens fan. We'll mention him by name on here. Shout out to him for the L that you're holding. All right, man. We appreciate you joining again this week, as always.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. All right, take care, man.
Later, man.
All right. Have a good week.
All right. Thanks to Gareth and Kai for joining us. I think we're going to wrap up there. Man, again, 7-0. I would have not seen this coming before the season. Granted, we both did pick them to win the AFC North. We both picked them to have double-digit wins, but this is all the makings of a very special season.
And the Steelers tied Colin Cowherd's win total for this season so far. So I mean, if they lose the next 9 games in a row, he's a genius. But I don't see that happening. And the Steelers also tied their best franchise start ever with 1978, 7-0.
What's your updated win projection?
Let me look at their schedule. I don't know if what did I say? I think I said 12-4. What did you say?
11-5.
Wow, dude. Only 11-5.
I know.
All right, let me.
But listen, I expect. Well, okay. To be fair, I didn't think that Houston would be as bad as they are, and they actually played a pretty good half of football. I also didn't expect Drew Lock to get hurt in that game against Denver, and like those two, and then what I thought would be Tennessee. I thought somewhere in there they'll probably lose one. Philly, I didn't expect to be as bad as they are.
I probably figured we start with Baltimore and lose in Baltimore.
Yeah, I had that as a 1-1. The Cowboys, even though they haven't played that game yet, I would have thought that'd be a much tougher game going to Dallas to face the Dak Prescott-led Cowboys. That's not happening now. So, yeah, you looked at the rest of the schedule. It's just not as daunting as you would have thought it would be at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it. So we got the Cowboys next week. Then we go to the Bengals come here. Then we go to Jacksonville. Then there's this Thanksgiving game against the Ravens, which is only 4 days after we get home from Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got Washington at home. We go to Buffalo, go to Cincinnati, Colts at home, at Cleveland. Oh man, I don't know what I should say. Because I don't see the Steelers losing 4 of these games. I just don't. There's no way that I see 12-4, not going to happen. I just don't see them losing 4 games to any of these teams.
I'm saying 14-2.
What's the games you think we'll lose?
So I still think it's a toss up with the Ravens coming here on Thanksgiving, especially now that we beat them there. I mean, they need to have that one.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, they do have a much tougher schedule these next 3 weeks before that game than we do leading up to that game. So I think that's going to be a very tough game that could go either way, just as today did. I'm also looking at either going to Buffalo or when the Colts come here. Another thing to look at, they could take a loss because we're playing like our backups in a meaningless game, week 17 against Cleveland, when Cleveland could be fighting for a playoff spot. But we're playing for nothing, and we're just sitting our starters.
Right. And that's what I actually projected to happen. Not that we'd lose that game, but I said that we would have the division in hand by week 17, that we wouldn't need to play our starters. So I could definitely see that happening.
So yeah, it's tough for me to say the exact games. I just think that those are the ones that I'd be potentially looking at.
15-1.
I don't. Wow. Okay. I don't. Before I want to touch back on that, but I don't think that this doesn't have the feel of the same team that loses one of these gimme games. There's just something there this year. I don't know if it's preparedness or what it is, but they don't seem like a team.
Maybe it's just focus.
Yeah, they don't seem like a team that is going to drop the ball against this less superior team.
Yeah, normally in a year, now the Cowboys are better, or typically better than they are this year. But normally, a game like the Cowboys game this year, the Jacksonville game, the Washington games, you don't know necessarily for sure if the Steelers are going to win those every single year. But I really don't have any precaution going into those games. I feel like those are securely W's. And I guess I do have some question about maybe one of the Bengals games, only just because of the way that Joe Burrow has been playing, how well that offense has looked under him. But I still think that the Steelers are just so much better all around team. So I don't know. I literally think the only losses, like you said, could be coming from either the Ravens, Bills, or Colts. I understand that the Colts defense can be really good, especially with Darius Leonard, but I don't trust their offense at all. Week to week, I feel like Phillip Rivers is just a big question mark.
Yeah, there's a lot of inconsistency because they can be very good. They just put up 40 today on Detroit, but it's Detroit. Like, Detroit's defense isn't good. Detroit can score some, but yeah, you look at Indy week by week and you never know what you're getting. So I guess it just depends what team shows up to Heinz that week. But I will be very pissed if I go to Cincinnati right before Christmas and watch Cincinnati beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. That will ruin my Christmas.
On Monday Night Football.
On Monday Night Football.
Merry Christmas.
Why do we always play Cincinnati on a Monday Night Football game? Every year we play them once.
I don't know. That's the game that you and I went to.
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah.
But
not to bring it up. It's one of the worst days of my Steelers fandom. But the Shazier injury happened on Monday Night Football in Cincinnati.
I thought you were gonna say the worst days of Steelers fandom was whenever I went to that game with you, and I was like, no, what did I do?
Well, that was like the start of when I was sick. So.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Hanging around 60,000 people.
But yeah, I'm changing my win total 15-1. We're only losing one game.
Good Lord. Okay. I'm going 14-2.
Literally the only reason I said 15-1 is because I dare not say that they want to go 16-0.
Are you picking the loss or are you just saying somewhere in there?
I'm going to say that they lose to the Buffalo Bills.
Man, if they get that far in the season undefeated, like, that's the thing, is because I don't think that they're going to go undefeated. I don't expect them to, and it's not, it doesn't make them less of a championship contender should they lose a game. But if they get to the point where they'd be what at that point? They're 7-0, 8-0, 9-0, 10-0, 11-0, 12. They'd be 12-0 that week.
Mm-hmm.
And then they lose. Like, I'd almost want it to happen next week against Dallas and just get it out of the way. Like, once they get past 10, I'm gonna be like,
what?
Actually,
like it's just like a big what if, like, what could have been.
Yeah, because I'm gonna start like expecting it.
I mean, if you're 15-0,
oh man, no.
I mean, you got to sit your starters. You got to sit them.
It's not worth it.
Yeah. But I mean, if they win that game,
I mean, unless well, no. How many losses does the second best team in the AFC have? Do the Chiefs just have one?
Chiefs have one. Yeah.
Okay. So unless the Chiefs like run the table too up until that point, and we would have to win.
Who'd the Chiefs lose to?
The Raiders.
Raiders. How does that tiebreaker work? Like if we were to lose to Cleveland,
that's in their division. If we lose outside of the division, we might have the advantage. Or is it?
But if we were 15-0 and we lost to Cleveland, I don't know how.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how that works.
But I'm saying beforehand, so we wouldn't have played Cleveland yet.
Right.
I'm just thinking like we have to lock it up with the win. This is ridiculous that we're talking about being 15-0.
I mean, we didn't think we'd be 7-0 either.
You're right.
For a couple of guys, and there's more than just us two that have never seen the Steelers start 4-0. We're now 7-0. I feel like it's okay.
I wish the Patriots were on the schedule this year.
Yeah, I mean they suck, but it's okay to have these conversations as a fan right now because I mean we're enjoying the season. We want Bama. That's right.
All right, but I don't have anything else. So
no, we're just talking hypotheticals. We're gonna go 19-0.
All right, you heard it here first. I'm going. Smitty here is going 14-2. Tyler here is going 15-1 for the Steelers' updated win projection. If you're watching this, can't thank you enough for tuning in. Thanks again to Gareth and Kai for joining the show. We're seeing a lot of repeat guests, which is great. But if anybody else wants to join the show, please just send us a message. We'll get you in one of these upcoming weeks. Next week, playing at 4:25. I'm not sure what we'll have going on. We literally just decided, right after the game that we were going to do this today. So we're not sure if we'll do one next week, but we'll keep you guys updated. So follow us on Twitter at Around the 412. Other than that, it's been Smitty. It's been Tyler. This is the Around the 412 Steelers post-game show, part of Crowworthy, part of allsteelers.com, and presented by Teach Barbershop and Manscaped, where you can get 20% off plus free shipping when you use the code 412. Everybody have a good week. Enjoy victory.